A heads up that there is a curse word before the end of this episode. They make me say that in case there are any kids around. So, Ronny, I wanted to start with playing a short clip from your recent Netflix stand-up special. Is that cool with you?
Sure.
All right, let's hear it.
The only thing I ever wanted to do my whole life was this. Stand-up comedy in America. It's the best. Look at this, it's the best. You guys are cheering because you know this is way better than having kids.
It still holds up.
Yeah, it does. Does it still hold up?
I think it still holds up, yeah.
Ronny Chieng is having a moment. His new special, Love to Hate It, has been getting a lot of critical praise. For real, though, was that always your dream, stand-up comedy in America?
Yeah. I tell the truth in my special. It was always a dream to do it. And now I'm here doing it. It's incredible.
Chieng has also played roles in popular TV shows like Interior Chinatown and films like Crazy Rich Asians. He's probably best known for his work on The Daily Show on Comedy Central. He was living in Australia in 2015 when Trevor Noah encouraged him to audition. He became a correspondent, and now, a decade later, he's also one of the rotating hosts of The Daily Show.
I mean, this guy was so in the zone, he didn't even know what he was signing.
Withdrawing from
What
the
is this?
withdrawing from the World Health Organization. Sir.
Ooh. Oh. He's withdrawing from the World Health Organization like he's hearing the dessert options. No, yeah. I'll have the tiramisu and potential measles outbreak with that. I mean, if you could put anything in front of him yesterday, he would have signed it. Melania, now's your chance to update the prenup. Go.
Chieng is pushing the boundaries of how comedy takes shape during this moment in American politics and culture. It's landed him on the Washington Post's first ever Post-Next 50 list. The list came out this week. 50 people shaping our society in 2025. From the newsroom of the Washington Post, this is Post Reports. I'm Elahe Izadi. It's Thursday, February 13th. Today, you're going to hear my conversation with comedian Ronny Chieng. We talk about how he formed his unique comedic perspective and how this helps him make sense of the messiness of America. So, Ronny, again, thanks for making time to talk with me today. I really appreciate it. I guess first, I would love to know how you would describe this moment when you step back in your career and your life.
Whoa. How I would describe this moment? I gotta write the next joke. That's how I feel about it. I still feel like I'm chasing the next joke. I need to write the next bit, the next stand-up bit.
Right. So are you like the type of performer who isn't thinking about, here's my 5-year plan, here's my 10-year plan, here's how I'm making these moves?
I don't know any performer who can do that. I feel like the performing arts is definitely a lesson in Buddhism of living in the present and not worrying about the future. And if you want the 5-year plan, you kind of have to go into the corporate world. That's kind of a corporate world thing, which I came from, actually. It took me years to unwind from that and just be someone who can live in the present and enjoy self-expression for the sake of self-expression and not be too worried about whatever, fame or chasing something that is out of my control.
How did you unlearn that? You mentioned coming from the corporate world. I know that you studied law, you studied finance. How did you unlearn that?
By being around people who didn't care about that. Or at least they didn't seem like they cared about it. Like all these comics and performers and live performers. And they're kind of like this, traveling band of circus performers who are so different to all my friends from the corporate world, in that the circus performer comics have their own ambitions, obviously. They're not totally aimless, but they were less concerned about 5-year plan and what's going to happen in the future and how am I going to afford retirement versus my corporate friends it seemed like that was all we were worried about. And then myself included, and more kind of being able to live day to day, in some cases hand to mouth, gig to gig, and be more focused on the craft, which I appreciate.
Yeah. Well, Ronny, I have to say, when I watch your stand-up material and, even your work on The Daily Show, one element of what you bring, I think, is a very specific perspective about America. And sounds like it's rooted in your own experiences.
Sure.
By way of background, you talk about being an immigrant. You grew up in Malaysia, third-generation Chinese Malaysian, spent time in Singapore as a kid, went to college in Australia. So when I watch you, it feels like here's someone who maybe can see Americans better than they can see themselves. And it sort of reminds me of my own family members who are immigrants. Like, oh, you've got my number,
Yeah,
And
yes and no.
tell me more about that.
Yes, I think I have a bit more objective perspective and know in the sense that I didn't grow up here. So how can I know more than someone who was born and raised here who's my age, right? I left America when I was 7 years old. So I came to America when I was 4, and then I left when I was 7 or 8. So I 4 years, and then it took me 20 years to get back to America. So I moved back when I was 30. When I first came to America, I actually met up with John Oliver to ask him for advice on how to be a non-American correspondent on The Daily Show.
Because he's British.
Because he's British.
Yeah,
and he was uniquely positioned to give me that advice. I mean, how many people have that experience? And he told me it took him 2 years to relearn how to do comedy in America. And he was spot on. It took me 2 years to figure out kind of how to talk about America in a way that even Americans can agree with you. So more than just a surface level kind of observations, So in that sense, I guess I've put in effort to learn the American perspective and not just do surface level observations and try to hit something deeper. But I still come with a lot of humility. I don't think I have your number.
You've got some of them.
Yeah, I got some numbers. Numbers,
Yeah. Well, it's just such a spin, right? And I'm wondering, like you mentioned, being on The Daily Show and the story of John Oliver. When you joined The Daily Show, this, storied American comedy institution, and you were thrown into this writer's room, and it's all about satirizing America.
Yes.
How did that impact your skills as a comedian, not just a writer?
That's a good question. You were thrown into it, and you better catch up quick because it is the satirical show, meaning they are the market leaders, not just in satire, but American satire. So you better quickly learn how to satirize America at a world-class level and not just some surface level amateur hour jokes and observations. I've said before that The Daily Show is like the Harvard Business School of comedy, and they are the best at what they do. And they were willing teachers to me. That's how collegiate the show is. It wasn't cutthroat or competitive. Everyone wanted me to succeed. So they were always trying to make me look good. I was trying to learn as much as I can. I was lucky. I joined the class with Roy Wood Jr., Desi, Hassan, Jessica Williams, and Trevor. And we were all like that. We were just like that. We all just wanted to get better, and we were all trying to learn from each other and everyone around us. And we were in the perfect environment to do it.
I'm wondering, when you remember those first 2 years on The Daily Show, was there like a sketch or a moment that you look back on and you're like, oh, that's like when I hit my groove, or that was like...
No, I'm still trying to hit my groove, I think. There was sketches that we like. There was some we didn't like.
What's one that you like that stands out to you in your memory?
I'm pretty lucky. I stand behind almost everything I do on the show, even stuff I didn't necessarily believe in. After I did it, I was like, oh, okay, I was wrong. This was actually great. So there's times when I'm wrong, which speaks to the environment. So I don't know, like there's one where there was this guy who would shoot lionfish underwater in Florida because it was an invasive species. So we went to go interview him.
Florida is under attack by illegal immigrants. And unlike Mexicans, none of these are good people. In fact, they're fish.
So this is a lionfish, and it's an invasive species, and it's decimating Florida's reefs.
And he shot fish underwater with a gun. And it was actually environmental. It was for environmental reasons. And he figured it out. You know, it was non-lead-based bullets, and he was trying to save the reef.
So we modified a Glock handgun to shoot fish underwater. You think this is a joke, but this is real.
Wait, what?
Can't catch them any other way. You got to go down and shoot them.
Of course. What could be more Florida than standing your ground for Mother Nature?
Hey, you want to hold it?
And it was just that perfect Daily Show, intersection of doing the wrong thing for the right reason in the wrong way, but the end result is good, which that's an example of something I thought was, really fun and very American.
Yeah, shooting fish in Florida. Where
with guns.
With guns,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I want to talk about comedy under Trump. I know it's like a whole big topic, but what I'm sort of interested in is it felt like during the first Trump term, there was a lot of this like rah-rah resistance and people eager for comedy that eviscerated him and his supporters. But actually, in your most recent special, you don't really do that. You do this kind of interesting thing where you walk this line of saying, you say repeatedly, like, I have MAGA people in my life. You give space for them as people. You don't demonize them, but obviously then you like reveal how you feel about their politics and pick them apart.
Yeah.
We have this one joke from your special.
We try not to talk about politics, my MAGA friends and I, out of mutual respect. Right? Inevitably, it comes up. Some stuff I'm wrong about, some stuff they're right about. But sometimes, like, the messaging is so convoluted. Like, I can't get to what their core issue actually is. Like, sometimes they're like, Ronnie, China caused COVID. But COVID isn't real. So is it fine then? Doesn't mean it's fine? I don't know how to feel about it now. Because 1 minus 1 is 0. I don't know what to tell you.
So I'm just wondering, like, how, when you think about the split in the country, which isn't new, but it's evolving and deepening, how does that inform your work right now?
I just want to do comedy that I think is funny. I don't need to say anything that anyone expects me to say. I don't need to be an edgelord and say awful things just for the sake of it. I just want to do the comedy that I want to do, And when you think of it that way, for me, it kind of was informing a guiding path for me on how to navigate the politics. Because I think when you do something that's funny, a great stand-up bit that's funny, that the logic holds up in its own warped way, people get behind it. Yeah. Regardless of politics, I think, if you write a great bit, people get behind it. And people who don't get behind it, it's kind of like they probably don't like stand-up comedy. And that's fair enough because, comedy is not for everybody either. Not every comic's for every person either. So even acknowledging that is okay, not trying to pander, not trying to be for everybody, being okay with being a little countercultural. Undoubtedly a lot of that special came from real life experiences, right? So you go around the country now, like I have. I've been lucky to travel around on tour, doing stand-up, doing field pieces, filming movies. And you end up in situations, I ended up in a lot of situations where the politics was crazy with people who... like I said in the special, like I became friends with a lot of people who showed me a lot of kindness and warmth and mutual respect, and they would have these crazy views on things, and so just folding that into my experience of America as well, because Trump won. He won, so there's a lot of people out there who like him, so it's inevitable in your life in America that you're going to meet people who liked Trump for various reasons, and then just just actually like, hey, talking to them a little bit, seeing what's going on, not being confrontational about it, actually just having an open ear. I'm just saying, for me as a comic, this is my way of this is just how I navigate it,
it sounds like your like fidelity is to the joke, to the comedy.
Yeah, I like to think so. Yeah, and look, I have my own. I don't think I compromise my moral views in my jokes. I don't think I say jokes that I like, for example, maybe make Asian people look bad or whatever, you know, like, so I do have integrity. I like to think I have integrity in my jokes, but yeah, my fidelity is to the comedy, I think.
Yeah. And how do you make political comedy right now for people who are sick of politics right now?
We don't really make it for them, to be honest. We make it for ourselves. We tell the jokes we want to hear because it's kind of our job to do satire. People get behind it or they don't. That's how I feel about it. I think American satire is an institution. I think we need to do it because if we don't do it, who's going to do it? If America can't sustain a daily satirical show, because America has the comedic talent, we have the freedom of speech, we have the financial resources, and we have the craziest politics. If those four factors cannot sustain a satirical show, then no one in the world can do it. So I just see it as something that America needs to do, like it or not. We need to do satire, but at the same time, like whoever gets behind it, and it's not for everybody, and that's okay, you know.
Yeah. Well, I hear like a sense of mission in what you're saying almost.
Yeah, the mission isn't to elect Democrats. The mission isn't to quote unquote eviscerate Republicans. The mission isn't that. The mission is to poke fun at institutions of power. You know, that's the mission. That's satire to me. Yeah, we take that very seriously, trying to make fun of institutions and people in positions of power.
Coming up, what Ronny is learning from getting more personal on stage. We'll be right back.
I'm Robin Givhan, and I'm the senior critic at large for The Washington Post. I write about politics and race and the arts. You know, there's so much information and misinformation coming at people. And for me, a critic's job is to really cut through that and attempt to direct people towards what is of value. Subscribers are definitely the most engaged, and they're the ones that I feel like I'm most often having a conversation with. People who are really engaged in our culture and engaged in civic life in a way that can be really transformative. When you subscribe to The Washington Post, you support this kind of journalism. Learn more at subscribe.washingtonpost.com. I'm Robin Givhan, and I'm one of the people behind the Post.
Well, you know, coming full circle, the most recent special you did for Netflix, it struck me as quite personal, even more so maybe than your past work that I've seen at least.
People say that, but I always feel like all my comedy has been personal, so I don't run. But sure, I accept that maybe this one seems more personal. Yeah.
Well, maybe it's because some of the content you're sharing, it feels like it's aspects of your private life, like you and your wife's fertility journey, and also your relationship with your parents. And I wonder, as you share these aspects of yourself with audiences and seen how they've responded, what have you learned about yourself and what your comedy can do?
I don't think I've learned anything, honestly. I think, I don't know. I was just like, again, I was just looking for bits from my life, you know, I can't stop writing jokes. So if something happens in my life, I just write a joke about it. So in this case, this stuff was happening to me, and I just started writing about it and trying to figure it out and talking about it on stage. And the bits kind of formed. And the more I performed them, the bigger the bit grew. It would grow and grow. More jokes were added, more narratives, you know, more of the story that I was able to fold into it, you know. I don't know if I learned anything from that, because I feel like that was always my style of comedy. You know, I was a long-winded storytelling comic. So,
I'm wondering if audience members have then shared back with you their own experiences.
Oh, yeah. They try to tell me that stuff. I don't really care about it.
So you've heard it here, folks.
No, they'll come and tell me. Yeah, people will be like, oh, you know, I went through this too. And I was surprised at how many people went through it, to be honest. It felt like, you know, half the audience any given night has experienced that kind of IVF thing,
Yeah.
which is the goal of comedy, right? You want to cheer people up a bit. You know, I think we kind of, I think sometimes there's so much negativity on the internet, we kind of forget that like there's people who actually do like comedy. Sometimes I go out and do shows and I can't believe people enjoy comedy because it seems like everybody just hates comedy right now. But my point is yeah, people do like comedy because it cheers them up a little bit, you know? And I think that's what I mean by the fidelity to the joke for me. The great comics have something important to say. So I'm not saying you need to be apolitical because I think great comedy is a little edgy, but great comedy is also funny, right? And it lightens people's day a little bit, you know? And sometimes it pisses some people off as well. I mean, that's, you know, but that's what it is. And I also had people tell me about, you know, like make them think about their relationship to their parents a little bit. You know, at the end of my special, I'll talk about my dad who passed away. And sometimes people will tell me like, oh yeah, you know, you made me call my dad. And my parents passed away recently. And it was nice to hear other people go through it. So that's nice, you know, it's a human experience, right? And I think all that stuff I was doing, I didn't plan it that way. I didn't plan my dad to die. I didn't plan this IVF thing, which, by the way, my IVF journey is very selfish. You know, it's not like we couldn't have kids. It's that we were freezing embryos so that we could delay the decision to have kids. So my IVF experience is very different from someone who's like, this is their last chance to get children. So, but I think there is something with sharing this stuff and showing the humanity of everybody in this kind of divided political time. I didn't plan it that way, but I think it became part of the show in terms of divided politics, and end of the day, there are these very human issues that everyone goes through, you know, and maybe that's a uniting point in the country, you know, maybe those can be uniting lines.
Yeah. Well, Ronny, I'm wondering, what's next for you, or what's driving you? Is it just that next bit?
Yeah, I'm just trying to write the next joke. I don't think I've done anything yet. You know, I truly
You're being too modest.
No, I'm truly surprised when anyone recognizes me on the street at all from The Daily Show or stand-up. Because honestly, I feel like this Daily Shows, I feel like we're doing it for ourselves in the office. I am truly amazed when anyone else has seen it. And even same goes to stand-up comedy. Like the more I do stand-up comedy, the more I realize it's this kind of niche countercultural thing that was never supposed to be part of the mainstream. Like if you track stand-up comedy throughout history, everyone always was trying to stop it. Like, you know, they're trying to stop Lenny Bruce from saying shit. They're trying to stop George Carlin from saying whatever the 8 words it was he was trying to say. So the more I do comedy, the more I'm like, oh, this is just for a small percentage of people, you know, and I'm lucky that I get to do it and I managed to find this small percentage of people who like it. So I never expected anyone to know what I was doing. Like when people on the street like a bit I did, I can't believe they saw it, you know, because it always feels like it's this live event that was just for the people in the room. And if you ask me what motivates me, it's, I'm still chasing that next joke, still chasing that next bit. That's the only thing I want to do is get on stage and try that next bit and hopefully figure out a great joke.
Well, Ronny, thank you so much for taking time and joining us. We'll be watching out for those next bits from you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And thanks to the Washington Post for naming me the Next 50.
Comedian Ronny Chieng. He was named this week in the first ever Post Next 50, a list of 50 people shaping our society this year. Congresswoman Sarah McBride is also part of the Post Next list. My co-host Martine Powers spoke with her on Tuesday, so be sure to go back and find that episode if you haven't listened to it yet. There's a link to the complete Post Next list in our show notes. That's it for Post Reports. Thanks for listening. Today's show was produced by Sabby Robinson. It was edited by Renita Jablonski and mixed by Ted Muldoon. Special thanks to Evan Bredos, Hope Corrigan, Bronwyn Latimer, Daniela Santamarina, and Maggie Penman. We'll be back tomorrow with more stories from the Washington Post.